In this video I'm taking Razor pages further. This is the Contoso Razor pages. So we're starting on part 2, where we're going to modify and customize these CRUD pages, starting with the details page. So I've opened the student details page, this C# behind the scenes file. You can see it only has an onGet. We're using asynchronous methods here, and all it does is find the first student with a particular ID and returns that student. There's no enrollments there, it's just information about the student, and that's what we're going to modify. So we're going to use LINQ, Language Integrated Query. It's a system that Microsoft have devised of allowing you to write in C# a lambda expression, which when it executes creates SQL, which does the actual query. The advantage of this is you can check at compile time that all this is correct, using the right names for the attributes and the entities. So here we're getting all the students, but including their enrollments and then their course. Again, where the first one matches the ID. So when this student is found, the student will have their enrollments and course information as well. So that's what we're going to copy this bit of code and paste it in instead. Okay, I think we've got one too many braces here. Oh, it's copied too much for us, hasn't it? Yep, undo that, stop. That is annoying, Microsoft. We're going to have to we just need that bit of code copied. Don't need all of it. And in place of that bit of code there. Right, that's better. Okay, now I think our ID is slightly different, so if we look there, there's a case in point where at compile time we're finding the names are different. We use student ID, Microsoft used ID. Okay, so that's now the query, the LINQ query, which builds and is going to return us a student with their enrollments and their course details. That's the data. We've got the data now. Now that data needs displaying in the CS.html page, which is here. And obviously we need this new section where we are going to display the enrollments here. And then the course and the grade here. So this bit is the new bit we want to copy. And we need to go and open the display CS.html page. So here is the current details, and I think it goes right at the end. Let me just check again. Yes, it's the final part after the DD. Yes, after that DD. Okay, again there may be some differences of names here, so let's just see, let's just do a build. And you can see what this is going to do. It's going to put a course title and a grade, then go through each of the enrollments and display the course title and the grade. Let's give it a try. So we're going to go to students. Now we're going to go to details. Okay, there we are, there's our first student, and then here are all the courses. Right, I'm going to change this, because essentially the equivalent university in the UK, these would be modules, not courses. So I'm going to change those to make, so it models our system rather than their system. But the principle's there. Look, we have a student now, and we have a list of their courses they're taking and the grades for those courses. I've spent a few minutes just improving the appearance of this page, so you'll notice I've changed all the course names to module names. I've changed course title to module title. I've got student details instead of student. I've got the student's name up here, and I've got spaces in these labels here, as well as buttons. But it's all fairly simple stuff, I'll show you. So if we start at the top, I've used the student's full name because I've gone and modified student. So you can see I put a display name, which is the same as the attribute except it's got a space in it, so it's more readable. So you can use display name. That requires system component model to get those. We could also do something with this date. I haven't done that yet. And then I've added a method here to get the full name by putting the first name and last name together. None of those changes will affect the database, so we don't need to change the database for those changes. In this page I've used the model student full name here and called it module results. I put student details here instead of student, and those come out automatically. Then here I've put some table formatting on from Bootstrap, as well as changing the column size. Here it was 10, I've halved it because it was too big. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and then some buttons down here, just to improve all the appearance really, it's only to make it look better and more understandable. That took so little time. I'm going to do the MVC as well. So this is how we do it in MVC. It's virtually the same look, except for looking at the controller, student's controller, and the details page to add this same piece of code. I'll copy that. And let's build that. Oh, got the same problem with ID. Let's build. Okay, it's happy with that. Let's now do the next. So here's the display bit. Okay, this is the one where I changed the date to table names to plural, didn't I? No? Okay, what's the problem? Don't know where. Why have they got that wrong? Microsoft got that wrong. We didn't need the word student there, it's just the model dot. The model itself is a student. That's really odd. Okay, built now. Okay, there we go again. Obviously I could make the same changes to this as I did to the Razor Pages example. Right, if you look at the rest of it though, there is no need to do that overposting protection. If you look at the controller, you'll see for the crucial methods, the create, the scaffolding has already bound the fields so they can't be overposted. So that protection's already there on create and on edit. Same protections there, so we don't need to worry about that. So we've coped with overposting. The changes they're suggesting to the create page is to do with putting a model error in there if the model state isn't valid. that's when it checks the data being sent for adding to the database, and if there's something not valid about it, then you can log an error here. I think that's about all there is there. So we've done the overposting, so I'm not going to ask you to do any more to this. We may as well go back to the Razor pages and look at part 4, which is where they switch from recreating the database every time there's a need to change it to using data migrations. So we may as well do that now. There is a problem though with SQLite, which I think you have to use if you're on a Macintosh. That can't handle data migrations. You'd have to stay with the dropping the database, deleting it, and recreating it every time, and reseeding it every time. So they're suggesting we can switch to by migrations by I don't know whether we have to drop the database first. I don't want to do that now because my database has got different data in it. I don't want to reseed it. I'm going to see if I can go forget. You might need to drop the database. I don't know. Let's go and try it. They're suggesting we just use the PowerShell and we add a migration and update the database and remove this line, which is the database ensure created line. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm in the program class. I found this key line, context database ensure created. I'm just going to copy it, comment it out rather. Okay, but it's still going to use the database initializer. Hello. That only works first time anyway. So I've now stopped it, ensuring the database is created. Okay, going to the Package Manager console and adding a migration. The initial create migration. Okay, add migration, initial create. Okay, I was happy with that. And then we're going to do update database. I think I need a dash between update and database. Doesn't look like it has worked, has it? Okay, yes, it's trying to create tables that already exist. That's why the data has to be dropped. That's annoying. Okay, I'm going to have to drop the database. Yes, I'm sure. Okay, now we'll try and bring back initial create. Now here I think I might have got myself in trouble because I've already got an initial create. Yes, so I don't perhaps need to do that again. Let me just try update database. I have got the initial create. It's done it. Okay, let me see. I've probably lost the data I put in. Yes, I have. I'm back to macroeconomics and microeconomics and chemistry again. So I've lost my data because it's been reseeded because I deleted the database. but I have got migrations now on, which is the important thing. I'll show you how I quickly added new information. I'll show you how I changed my data without so there was no CRUD pages for courses, were there? And I wanted them to be modules, not courses. So here's my ASP-Razor-Contoso2 database. Here are my tables. I can select the courses table. I can view the data. And I can just go in and change it. Oh, shame it hasn't got a course code. Let's put a course code in. Actually, it's going to be a module, so CO 550 applications. Okay, and so on. So you can put them in like that. I won't do them, but you can just type them in like that. So I've got one of them in. Okay, now that we've got my data migrations on, I can change the database because this is not good enough. So for example, a last name is required. We have to have a last name. And it's a string, so we should have a string length. Microsoft didn't do that. And same with the others, so I'm just going to copy this. Yes, it was this enroll date that I wasn't happy with. There is an annotation called data type, and I don't know how it goes now. Data type dot. See, we don't want time on it, we just want date on it. So we can have data type dot date. Let's use the Package Manager console to add a migration called, I'll call it annotate student. We've added different annotations to student. So add migration annotate student is what I'm calling it. You should see it's going to write code which is going to alter the columns. Set an nvarchar 20, it's not now nullable, and so on, which is what we want. Okay, then we can update the database. Okay, hopefully it'll still run. Let's just check. Right, let's create a new student. Let's try the data annotations. Yep, there we go. Look. We now can't have to put a last name in. Have to put an enrollment date in. It's not talking about time anymore. Can we create the student? Yep. We've added Derek as a student. Okay, if we look at Derek's details, there'll be no modules, no enrollments. Oh, and the data format string hasn't worked. Let me just Google that quickly and see if I can change that. Okay, drop the idea of a display format. That doesn't seem to work. This does though, just setting the data type to be a date works fine. The key thing is when you run it and you go to students, you can see the dates in the correct format here, and when you go to edit, the date is displayed in the correct format there. So that seems to work without a display format. Okay, so I think that's probably all we need for this the start of logbook 3. This is about half of logbook 3. We've got one thing left to do now. I also covered part of logbook 5.